analysis of the GOP memo on FBI and DOJ criminality. Wow, that's really something. So here's the context and motivation that is behind all this scandal. Parties generally do opposition research on each other. In other words, they try to get dirt so they can win an election. Now, here's a novel idea. If you can get the government to help you get the dirt on the other party, on the other candidate, wow, now that's a real advantage. And that's exactly what the Democrats and Hillary tried to do. They hired GPS Fusion or Fusion GPS, I can't remember which, to do opposition research. And Fusion GPS hired Christopher Steele, a British spy, and he had contacts with Russian government officials and ex-officials, and they fed him all sorts of allegations of collusion between Trump campaign and Russia and this, that, and the other. And they were able to get that as a basis to get a FISA warrant. Now, how did they do that? Well, one of their employees, Miss Orr, was married to a DOJ employee, and she fed him the information. He fed it to his superiors. They went and got a FISA warrant based on this opposition research paper that is all just a smear campaign organization creating bad press for the opponent, making all sorts of allegations that are not substantiated or verified to undermine the other candidate. But in this case, they were able to go much farther because they were able to get the government's power of surveillance of American citizens. That's what they were able to get. They were able to use the government to spy on the other candidate. Now that's really great because the government has incredible resources and can get all sorts of information and dirt about the opposing candidate. Now, they did this, but in order to do it, they had to commit illegal acts. That's the problem. Illegality. And what did they do? They used this so-called dossier to get a FISA warrant claiming that they had verified and it was authentic information and that they had second source for it. So it was reliable. And in order to do that, they had to swear that this was true, the information, and that they believed it was true, and they had reason to believe it was true. And they also had to withhold the origin of this dossier and how it was created and paid for by Hillary Clinton and the Democratic Party. Now, that dossier, according to Andrew McCabe in his testimony, without it, there would have been no warrant. It was essential to get the warrant. And so, in order to get the warrant, they withheld that information, which is illegal, perjury, that when they claimed that they had verified it and that it was reliable. And they also violated Section 242 of 18 U.S. Code, where it's illegal for a government official to use his power to violate the rights of a citizen, in this case, Carter Page, which is the guy they wanted to surveil. Why did they want to surveil him? Well, they just wanted to get cameras into Trump Tower and start getting information about the Trump campaign and about Trump and pin whatever they could on him. And that was the plan. then used that information to win the election. They weren't able to win the election, so the second best thing was to incapacitate Trump as part of the resistant movement so that he would be an ineffective president and he would be on the defensive, always threatened by this so-called collusion with Russia to affect the election, when in fact the people that really colluded with Russia and with the DOJ and FBI to affect the election were Hillary and the Democrats. Now that's some irony, huh? You start out claiming the opponent is doing something, and it turns out you're the one who's doing it. That's exactly what happened. So, what do I think about this? Well, of course, as in all cases, I think that people that commit crimes should pay for them. And this is what we have to do in this case as well. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. What happened here is an abuse of the FISA court. Now, I don't really think there should be a FISA court, and this is exactly why. We're not at war with any country. We don't need a FISA court. The FISA court was introduced on the basis that we have to catch spies here in America. There are not a lot of spies here in America, at least with no country that we are at war with. So we really don't need this secret court. If you want a warrant and somebody's violating the law, you show probable cause to a judge that they're violating the law, then you can get surveillance on that person. That's the way it used to be, and that's the way it should continue to be. So this is an example of why we don't need this FISA court and why we shouldn't have it, because it is constantly abused and used for other purposes. In this case, to support one political party and one political candidate against another. Anyway, be that as it may, the government illegality is a very serious thing and is harmful to all citizens. And that's what I want to talk about. When the government commits crimes, the whole sphere of government is undermined, and people don't have confidence in the government, and of course they reason logically. If the government doesn't follow the law, why should I? So the government, by violating the law and doing what they did to surveil Carter Page with no good reason in order to try to get dirt on Trump and the campaign, well, they have subverted the purpose of the FISA court, or the purpose of the government, and they have undermined confidence that citizens have to have in the government in order for the government to function effectively. You can't function effectively in a banana republic where the government is corrupt and people don't follow the law. And you look around the world and you see how that works out. That's why all these countries are mired in poverty and criminality, and they can't get anywhere. That's one of the reasons. So I've done some interviews on this before, and government criminality is much worse than individual criminality, and that's why it has to be punished. If it isn't punished, it will continue. There's only one thing that's going to stop people that are lured and feel an appeal to violate the law for their political ambitions or purposes or for money, and that is punishment. If there's no punishment, there's no disincentive. Now, this scandal is actually worse than Watergate, because in Watergate, Nixon financed a burglary in order to affect a particular public policy, the war on Vietnam. He wanted to inhibit testimony from Ellsworth and whoever else regarding the Pentagon Papers and it was just a specific public policy that he wanted to affect. There's a similarity. It's illegality to achieve a political purpose. However, in Watergate, it was just one public policy. Here, it's the whole government that they want to affect, and they want to destroy a whole candidate, and they want to destroy a whole his whole administration, impeach him or incapacitate him, uh, make him less effective. It's everything. So they're going for the whole bowl of wax here. They want to undermine an election. And boy, if that's not an important principle, I don't know what is. I mean, that's the whole purpose of going and voting and having democratic elections. If you can undermine the election with secret surveillance and research, and, well, it's deuces wild from there on. Anyway, the response from the Democrats was first they thought that we shouldn't see this information. They don't want the public to know about it. Well, they said that it would reveal methods and sources, and it would undermine law enforcement and the relationship with the FISA court. I'll tell you what undermines the relationship with the FISA court: when you withhold information that's relevant and you lie to them. That undermines the relationship. Anyway, once the memo was out, then they had a totally contradictory perspective, which was, oh, it doesn't really matter. There isn't anything much in here. It's a nothing burger. Anyway, that's contradictory for sure. So what do I think? I think that we need action. And action in this case is the perpetrators of these crimes have to go to jail. If people don't go to jail, there's no disincentive to just do the same thing again and again. And this is a very important thing because it affects everyone in our society, the whole government. So as I see it, there's really only two options here. Either, well, maybe three. Either Sessions gets a spine and stops hiding behind his recusing himself, which is irrelevant to all of this, and starts to prosecute people in his own Department of Justice and the FBI. There's a slim chance of that. Or Trump puts in a new attorney general who cleans house. Get all these people out and investigate them. Or you name a special counsel, which will take forever, but maybe that's the only thing that can be done, from using somebody that is not in the DC swamp. So I see only those three solutions. Take your pick. Let me know what you think. Thank you.